Boy, that's cool. Hi, it's Brian. Today's video is a little bit more low-key, and honestly I'm making it for me more than anybody else, but I'll probably go ahead and make it public. I thought it might be fun to document how and why I got started into 3D printing and kind of showcase some of the things I've done along the way, so later in life I can look back at it and kind of reminisce. It all started with my 14-year-old son. He was really excited about the idea of 3D printing, and for Christmas he got a 3D printer at his mom's house, an Ender 3V2. Now I was curious because I thought 3D printing was really expensive, so I looked his printer up and was really surprised. While they were assembling it, they were having all kinds of issues with bed adhesion, getting prints to stick, making spaghetti, all those newbie problems. Being the helpful dad I try to be, I started looking at possible solutions and texting them to him. And the more videos I watched, the more excited I got about the possibility of getting a 3D printer. So I talked to my partner Jess about it, and we decided, we should get one. But what to get? Now I like to do a lot of research, so I hopped onto Reddit, Google, Facebook, watched lots of YouTube videos. And my first thought was to get the same printer that my son had, but I didn't really know a lot about it. Was it any good? If I had a little higher budget, should I get something better? So I hopped onto Reddit, and in the subreddit 3D printing, there's a very helpful thread about purchase advice that's sticky at the top. I asked a couple of questions in there and I got some very good answers. Ultimately, I decided to get the same printer, the Ender 3V2, which would leave room in my budget for adding modifications and upgrades and buying lots of filament. All of those things we've done, but that's the next chapter in the story. Let's finish this one first. In that Reddit thread, a very helpful user suggested I go ahead and get calipers, as well as ball bearings and screws for putting together prints. Thought that was a good idea. So I ordered the printer and my first roll of filament, and then I ordered those items off of Amazon. While I was on Amazon, I went ahead and got 2 more rolls of filament as well. And then the waiting began. So I downloaded Cura and I started playing with that. I watched setup videos and ultimately decided I really liked the 3V2 setup video on the Tomb of 3D Printed Horrors. So I watched it several times. And the big day came and my printer arrived. So I watched the video again and I set it up. The next weekend, my son brought his printer over and I basically rebuilt it following that same video. And then we leveled the beds and we started printing. And we printed test squares. And we printed benchy boats. And all of these great little files we found on Thingiverse. And we had so much fun that weekend. And I was hooked. However, my son's interest in 3D printing has since waned. But that's okay. Kids don't have to share everything with their parents, and he's currently pursuing other interests. Maybe he'll come back. The next chapter in my story is modifications and upgrades. That first weekend, I printed my very own filament roller from Thingiverse. We're using the 3D printer to upgrade the 3D printer. How cool is that? I'd also ordered my first paid upgrade, which were these yellow springs. I got 20mm springs on Amazon for about $8. That was enough to do my printer, my son's printer, and now I've got extra springs I've got to figure out what to do with. Since then, I've also ordered the upgraded Bowden tube from Capricorn with the new couplers. And I decided to add a BLTouch kit. That was a frustrating experience because the kit I got is fairly new, and the way it hooks to the 3V2 wasn't really well documented on YouTube. I couldn't find any good install videos that talked about this kit, so I made my own. And if you'd like to watch my very first YouTube video on 3D printing, I'll put the link in the corner above. I knew from the very beginning I wanted to utilize Octoprint, but I've never worked with a Raspberry Pi before, so I started with this Canakit, and I got a Raspberry Pi Picam V2 along with this extension cable. When it came in, I put it all together, and then I installed Octopi and Octoprint and began playing with all of the different plugins. I'm kind of methodical. I'll put in one plugin, learn about it, and then move to the next. So I only have a few so far, but I've got others that I'd like to check out. Now, time-lapse photography is one of the big things that I'm interested in. So I printed out this camera mount on Thingiverse, and it was okay, but it didn't give quite the shot I wanted. So then I printed out a second one, which was a little better, and then I printed out a third, which I'm currently using. And this is my first unintended upgrade. I cracked my extruder over-tightening this coupler. So I installed the metal upgrade kit, and then I decided to have some fun, so I printed out an R2-D2 extruder knob, installed it, and subsequently cracked it. How's that for poetic justice? By the way, here's my next upgrade. Yesterday I ordered these hardened steel nozzles, and yeah, I went ahead and picked up some more filament too. It'll be here in a couple of days. My final chapter in today's story is documenting all the stuff we've made. We've had so much fun with all the prints that we find on Thingiverse and other sites. We've made just trinkets. We've made useful items, functional prints, things to give away, just things for all three of our boys. And these guys are probably my favorite prints so far. Yeah, they're very basic, but I made this in Tinkercad and then printed it out. And I love that. You might be wondering what it is. If you look at a lot of my videos, you'll see this black background. These are simply little connectors that hold those panels together to keep them from falling over. This is my first attempt at vase mode, this nice trash can. One of my early functional prints to hold SD cards. Jess made this dumpster and supersized it, and I love it. She's also gotten excited about printing and has made items for the baby. And items for the house, like these hooks. And for Valentine's Day, she printed this out and attached it to 40 balloons, and I love that. We've also made items to give away to coworkers and to friends, like this gnome. And I've reignited my passion for photography. I love these little cats, by the way. And with that, we'll conclude my story on how I started into 3D printing. So what's next? Well, if you're watching this, you figured out that I've started a YouTube channel, and if you're one of my 23 subscribers, thank you. If you're not, it sure would mean a lot to me if you'd consider subscribing to the channel, maybe liking the video, and hitting that little bell so you get notifications on when I do things like, say, better time lapses. As a family, we'll keep printing and posting up videos of our new prints and our journey along the way. If you'd like to watch some of our other videos, I'll throw them up on either side of the screen right here. Check the channel out. And thanks so much for spending your day with me.